Mindful Life Practice community.
And if you're sitting crisscross and you're able to close your eyes or soften the gaze, maybe you can just find the natural rhythm of your breath. So not changing anything about it, but just noticing it, what it's doing, how it feels, moving in and out of your nostrils. I want to welcome you all to the mat. I missed you last week. Today we're going to continue talking about the niyamas, which we've been working our way through. And this niyama that we're going to talk about today is the practice of getting to know yourself better. It's called Svadhyaya, which literally means one's own reading or self-study. By investigating the ways of being, which include our state of mind, our habits, our strengths and weaknesses, and by looking at our blind spots, so to speak, we'll ultimately be able to understand that we are so much bigger than just the small stuff. So not only is it important to be self-aware and expand our knowledge, but to also reflect upon that knowledge. I feel like I've been doing kind of a lot of this week, and I'll talk about that a little as we go. It's funny because I planned this class for last week, and then it's like it all finds its way, right? It all finds us when it's meant to. And I feel like this is a lot of what I've done this past week. So it's kind of a weird timing. But as we get started, maybe you want to set an intention for your practice, something like I expand my self-knowledge, or I reflect on my life with acceptance. And we'll just slowly bring the eyes to open, and we'll move into our first posture. And so we're gonna stay here, sitting up for the first posture. We're gonna extend the legs wide, and we're gonna just rest into Dragonfly Pose. So your legs can be as wide or as close together as you like, as feels comfortable. You may feel a little stretch in the inside of the thighs. And then if you want, you can like stack up blocks or pillows and sort of like lean forward. If you have a couch or a chair that you want to like lean into the edge of. And the goal here is to keep your back straight, okay? So not rounding through the back to bring your head closer to the floor, but staying straight through the spine and leaning forward at the hip. And so if that means sitting straight up, that's perfectly fine. If it means stacking up 6 blocks, that's perfectly fine too. Whatever works for you, you can use any sort of stack to support yourself. As you're resting into this posture, remember to keep breathing steadily. And if at any time you need to alter your pose, please just take a variation that works for you. We should never find ourselves in pain in a yin posture, perhaps some discomfort, but never pain. We're going to hold these postures for about 3 to 4 minutes, depending. And we do this to work into the connective tissue and help balance our body's internal organs. This forward fold, and all forward folds are sort of a physical metaphor for looking inside. With our head deeply bowed, we might ask ourselves, how are we really doing today? And every day that you practice, or every time that you practice, may bring a new answer. But by gently prompting ourselves with this question, we might be able to get a little insight into how we are, our true state. We might be agitated or at ease, bored or excited. We might be angry or fearful. We might be settled or at peace. All of these thoughts and states are a chance to practice Svadhyaya, to look deeper behind the feelings and emotions and really reflect. It's interesting because a lot of times our yoga practice can kind of be compared to the way we behave in our everyday lives, as if what we're doing on the mat is sort of an investigation into our world, and that we can like watch or observe the learnings or the things we see about ourselves as we move through these postures. We'll take about 3 more breaths here and think about your practice and how that connects to your daily life. When you're ready, we'll just walk the hands back to come up to seated, and we'll bring the legs in. If you want to give them a little wiggle, stretch them out a little. And then we're gonna prepare to come down to the mat. So I might put my bolster under my head. You can put a cushion, you can just have nothing, whatever you like. We're gonna come down onto the back. Maybe taking a second just to sort of let your spine adjust here. And then we're going to move into a cradle pose. So for this, you're just going to bring the knees toward the chest and hold on to them. And that's simply the pose. You can hold your knees. Some people like to cross the feet. That's up to you. You might just want to keep the feet touching. And although you are holding your knees with your hands, try to relax through the shoulders. You'll feel the low back pressing into the mat. And then again, just noticing the breath so that you're not holding your breath. I'm sure that since you're here, you can relate, but I I know that I've found that my yoga practice and my teacher training have definitely influenced the way that I carry myself in different situations. Um, I've learned a lot about breathing when I'm feeling anxious or frustrated. I've learned more about my body and how to carry myself throughout the day. Something as simple as, your posture or the way you get up off of the floor or any of these things are learned on the mat. We learn when to breathe in, when to breathe out. We learn how to move in a way that doesn't hurt ourselves. I've always had problems with my back, and so I feel like my yoga practice has really helped that. And then there's the reflection part. We can all practice, 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 and we can all learn and read and, you know, do the self study thing, but it doesn't make as much difference unless we reflect on it. You can read something about a yoga practice, you can meditate, you can, do all these things. But unless we reflect on how it connects to us and resonates with us and bears resemblance to our own experiences, we can't apply it to our lives. Having all this information is one thing, but fully understanding and living what we learn allows this physical yoga practice to become more a part of our lives. Let's take 3 more right big breaths here in your cradle. And then we'll release the knees, letting the feet fall back to the mat. And then just roll over to your favorite side. We're going to push ourselves up, walking our hands up to set up for our next posture. So just slowly and carefully coming back up to a seat. And then we're going to set up for pontoon. There are a few different ways that you can use the props. For this posture, you can use a bolster. You can use it lengthways. You can use it across the mat. You can also use a block here. So it kind of just depends. I find it on your back. But basically, you're going to take the prop, whichever way it is, bring it to the base of your spine, and then come to where your head is on the ground. And then you might have to wiggle this a little bit. You kind of want it under your hips more than your lower back. So as if you were going to go into like a supported bridge, for example. But then you're going to extend the legs out long. And then the arms can come beside you or overhead, whichever feels good. And you just sort of want your body to melt into the props. Feel supported. The head here should be a bit lower than the heart. And then resting through the hips, through the legs, and through the feet. So we talked about our practice and how that reflects in our life and, the reflection piece. But the opposite also applies, that studying our habits on the mat can go a long way toward recognizing our habits off of the mat. The way in which we practice yoga is actually quite reflective of the way we practice life. But our physical practice can often reveal more about us than we think. And not to anyone else, but personally, in a reflective way. When you're on the mat, there's nowhere to hide. The daily distractions that we fall to, like phones and chores and emails and all those things, aren't there to take our minds away from ourselves. On the mat, you actually have to pay attention. And this can be intimidating at first, and not at first, throughout your practice. Sometimes a yoga practice can reveal more about where our problems are rather than how perfect we are, which, as we know, is a good way to destroy the ego. But maybe your time on the mat is the only time that you give yourself permission to stop. It's maybe the only time when your mind decides to unload those millions of whirling thoughts. If you notice that your mind becomes especially busy when you're in practice, it's not a case of blocking out those thoughts, but rather it's more useful to recognize them and acknowledge them for what they are, because we can learn from this. Realizing what thoughts enter our minds on a regular basis helps us become aware of many other aspects of ourselves. So, Svadhyaya, the self-study or one's own reading, getting to know yourself better. I said I'd been thinking about it a lot, and I think, well, Tammy will say she knew this was going to happen, but when I decided to move home from Kuwait, she kept asking me, "How are you doing? You know, how are you feeling?" And I'm like, "Good, yeah, everything's fine, I'm good." And this week, I think it finally has sort of hit me that I'm home and I'm not living that life that I once was, and things are different in Canada, and I suddenly have to be an adult and do adulty things, and so I've spent a lot of time reflecting on it this week, and I'll tell you more about my thoughts in our in our next posture. So let's lift the hips up and just remove that block or bolster, and then we'll come again to your side and walk yourself up when you're ready. And of course, we haven't done it in a while. It's time for a reclined butterfly. So we want to set ourselves up with our little ramp, a block or a cushion, and then a bolster or more cushions, but you want this sort of ramp situation. And then we'll come to sit at the base of it. If you're in your bed, you maybe just stack a bunch of cushions up so you have that sort of angle. And when we come to the edge, we'll put the soles of feet together and then just lay back. Let the shoulders fall to either side. Scared me. And let the knees fall open. If you want more of a stretch to the hips, bring the feet closer to the body. If you would like less, move the feet further away from the body. And just relax into your cushions. So I didn't plan to talk about this, so I'm just going to talk. But I think it's all for a reason, you know. This self-study, this self-reflection has just all been very much a huge part of my thought process this past week or so. And I was talking to a friend that I knew from Kuwait, and and she was asking me questions about different things, like random things, and it just kind of hit me all of a sudden. It's like taking that time to reflect. I guess I hadn't done it in a long time, and it was just sort of a surface, like, yeah, everything's fine, and everything is fine. I mean, I don't want anyone to think I'm like falling apart or it's not that, but it's like I had this moment of what am I doing with my life? What if I never find what's supposed to be next for me? Like a few years ago, I was the elementary school librarian, and that was the job where I felt the most passionate, the most confident. And those 4 years, of course, there are moments in every job that aren't perfect, but in that job, I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do. I was changing a reading culture. I was mm, getting kids to love reading again. I felt like I knew what I was doing. I had something to offer. And now I'm back in this place where, as I mentioned at the beginning of class, I could be supply teaching, but it's not what I want to be doing. And I'm doing this on the side, and I'm doing a couple other little side things, but like, what is my passion? What am I supposed to be doing? And so I guess I just having that chat with her and saying it out loud, it kind of was like, oh geez, like, actually, what am I doing? And at that moment, I told her I couldn't talk about it. And I think it was for the best. Like, I needed to just think, and process, and reflect. And I just, I guess I get nervous, like, or scared, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? What if I try something new and it's no good? What if I try something new and I'm not good at it? What if all these things. And I think all of us have been there. We've all had those moments. I'm sure on some level or another you can relate or have had a time in your life where you could relate to that. I've been working on writing my thoughts down about it because I wonder if that will help me sort of process them. And then this opportunity came to sort of talk about it tonight, and it feels good to be able to talk about it. I don't feel like I'm going to cry or anything like that, but yeah, it's a weird time, weird time. I'm going to get you to think about where you want to spend the rest of our class for Nidra practice. So if you want to stay here, that works. If you want to come down onto the mat into a traditional Shavasana, or onto your bed or onto your couch, all of those are great options. If you want to put your legs up the wall, what you want to do is find a place where you can rest comfortably for the next 25 minutes or so, or just over 20 minutes, I guess, and somewhere that will make you feel that your practice is complete. Could be different every time. Sometimes you just feel like you need legs up the wall. Sometimes you just want to lay in Shavasana. So whatever is calling you today. And as you find that spot, maybe you want to cover up with a blanket. Maybe you want to cover your eyes with an eye pillow. And as you're resting into this position, we want to allow your brain to relax. Allow your body to relax. And of course, if you ever become uncomfortable, feel free to change shapes, but try to remain in stillness until the practice is ended. I invite you to close your eyes or cover your eyes. The practice of Yoga Nidra is a practice of yogic sleep. It's going to guide you to a state between wakefulness and sleeping. See if you can stay awake by listening to the sound of my voice. You'll be asked to move awareness to body sensations, emotions, and images. Try not to focus too intensely, as it might keep you from fully relaxing. And just decide to accept and take whatever serves you tonight and let the rest go. Feel your whole body start to relax. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just be here. Now you're going to set your sankalpa, or an intention, for this Nidra practice. Think about your heart's greatest desire. Take a moment to think about it. And then state it 3 times in the positive, as if it has already happened. See it and picture it in your life. It might be something like, I am happy and I am healthy. Become aware of any sounds that you can hear at this moment. Nothing else but what you can hear without strain. Begin to focus on the most distant sounds that you can hear. And then moving your attention from sound to sound without labeling the source. And gradually bring your attention to closer sounds. To sounds outside the room you're in. To sounds inside the room you're in. Without opening your eyes, visualize the 4 walls of this room, the ceiling, the floor, your body lying on the floor. And take a moment to think about your safe haven, a place that you can return to at any stage where you feel secure, calm, loved. Here in this place, there's nothing to solve or fix or run toward or away from. Just be. We're going to begin a journey of sensory awareness through the body, moving your awareness to different parts as I call them out. And just bring awareness to that part of the body and feel it, but don't move it. We'll begin on the right side. Bring awareness to your right hand, right thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger, wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, armpit, the right side of the waist, the hip, thigh, knee, calf, ankle, the right foot, big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, little toe. We'll bring awareness to the left hand, left thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger. The left wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, the armpit, the left side of the waist, left hip, thigh, knee, calf, left foot, big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, little toe. Now moving to the back of the body, right heel, right calf, right thigh, right glute, left heel, left calf, left thigh, left glute, lower back, middle back, upper back, entire spine, back of the neck, back of the head, top of the head, the forehead, the ears, the eyebrows, the eyes, the nose, the cheeks, the lips, the chin, the jaw, the whole right leg, the whole left leg, the whole right arm, the whole left arm, the whole face, the whole head, the whole torso, whole body, whole body, whole body. Let's imagine now the whole body becoming light, as though your body could float away from the floor and toward the ceiling. The head is light and weightless. The limbs are light and weightless. The torso is light and weightless. The whole body, light and weightless. You're rising higher and higher away from the floor. And then you feel your body becoming heavy. Feel the heaviness in all parts of the body, each part becoming heavier and heavier and heavier. The head is heavy, the limbs are heavy, the torso is heavy, the whole body is heavy, so heavy that you're sinking down into the floor. Begin to concentrate on the space in front of your closed eyelids and imagine before you a huge screen as though you're at the movie theater. The screen is as high and as wide as the eyes can see. I'm going to name a number of different things, and you should envision them on a level of emotion or memory or imagination as best as you can. Jump from image to image as soon as you hear it. Cool, clear water. A tall tree. A bouquet of flowers. A foggy morning. A full moon. A feather floating in the sky. Laughing with friends. A candle flickering. A path in the woods. A cat stretching. Your favorite song. The sound of my voice. Your body lying on the floor. It's time to repeat your Sankalpa, the same statement you made at the beginning of the Nidra practice 3 times in your mind. The practice of Yoga Nidra is now complete. We'll bring a little movement back to the body, maybe just wiggling the toes and the fingers. If you want to stay where you are more than welcome to do that. And if you want to join us back in seated, that's great too. Just moving so slowly, not in any rush, and honoring the movement that feels good for your body. Whether you're still lying down or you're with me and seated, I invite you to gather your hands on your heart or perhaps at heart center and dedicate your next breath in gratitude to honor the roots of yoga and those teachers that have come before us. Let's dedicate the next breath to each other for sharing in this space and in this practice. And finally, a breath of gratitude for yourself for taking the time to do something for you today. Thank you so much for trusting me to guide you through this practice. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Thank you.